Not too long ago, I gave you guys the chance to vote on whether or not I should do another BluePrint series, and you guys overwhelmingly voted in favor of me doing it again. So now, Bungie and Activision are on the hot seat with this damn game. Before I even get into this series, I have to lay out some ground rules. Or as the title of the video implies, the foundation, which is going to have a little bit more meaning as the video rolls along. First of all, during this series, the YouTube auditor will be taking a break. No, I'm being serious about this shit. The focus of this video is what Bungie could and should do to fix their game and their franchise, so that motherfucker would just get a big fuck you now, and that will carry over to all the other videos. Secondly, this is not going to be as long as the Call of Duty BluePrint series for various reasons. The most obvious is Destiny is one game that is still making changes, while Call of Duty is an annual franchise that gives us the illusion of change each and every year. Destiny is a different animal. It's a different genre than Call of Duty. So the series is not going to take nearly as long or be as critical of the mistakes as I was in the Call of Duty BluePrint series. Because after all, when you look at these two games side by side, you can see the differences make these two games uncomparable. Call of Duty follows a formula each and every year. Short campaign, co-op section, multiplayer, all separated into their own sections. Multiplayer follows a formula, a basic soldier who you can load up with perks, different weapons, and then kill streaks, score streaks, whatever the fuck they want to call it this year. Every Call of Duty game, that's the formula. Soldier, perks, weapons, kill streak. Destiny isn't like that, not even close. You have a campaign that blends into solo and co-op. You have a standalone multiplayer portion in the game called the Crucible that is still affected by your campaign and open world portion of the game, because you can obviously put your items into the Crucible. There is no formula for multiplayer. Right off the bat, your soldiers are guardians with unique powers built into them. A warlock is different from a titan, a gunslinger is different from a blade dancer, so there is no set starting point for any of your characters. These games can't be compared to each other, thus the series can't really be compared to each other either. The Call of Duty BluePrint will be a different series from the Destiny BluePrint. Destiny is still being modified and changed as we speak, while Call of Duty will follow the same formula year after year, but they're going to tweak some of the ingredients of their formula, such as the exosuit that we got this year in Advanced Warfare. The final thing to note is that certain things are not going to be fixed in this game, whether it's with DLC, updates, or whatever the fuck. There are just too many things that require a complete overhaul and therefore need an entirely new game or sequel to address. I can offer up suggestions, I can see the fixes a game might need, but in the case of Destiny, it's not coming in this game. It's not coming in a patch, and it will only come in future versions of the game, which we would have to buy and pay for all over again. No matter how you slice it, there is just no way around certain features that we want in the game. Destiny says this game is changing. Meanwhile, the expected sequel is at some early point in its development stage, which I'm not going to bitch about because we knew that sequel was going to be made at some point down the road. So a major patch isn't coming to change much, because that's trying to get like Call of Duty to drastically alter their perk or kill streak system. It's just not happening in this current game. It's going to happen in a future game. Destiny has a few of those issues. So as much as Bungie says this game is evolving, they're supporting the game, they're listening to their players, there's only so much they can do in this version of what we have right now on this disc. That being said, I named this video The Foundation for a reason, because you can't have a decent franchise without a starting point or foundation, and that is the structure of your game. What is up with Destiny's foundation? If you have a solid foundation for a game, which I'm going to detail some of the components in a second, you will have potential success in the future as an ongoing franchise. Call of Duty has a solid foundation. Battlefield has a solid foundation. Halo has a solid foundation, while a series like Resistance had a number of cracks in their foundation, which forced the developers to make changes constantly. Destiny has an okay foundation with a few minor cracks that can be fixed, but a major crack running down the middle of its ass. Think of it like a chummy plumber who comes over to fix your sink when shit is broke. Dude bends over and you see more crack than in a halfway house. Destiny has that kind of major crack that rips right through this fucking game. There are things that Destiny does right. Combat is unquestionably on point. Guns, mechanics, the jumping abilities, the sliding, you name it, solid across the board. Enemy AI, decent. Passable, if you will. They do move around, they do charge you pending the enemy type. The Vex and Cabal will charge you, Minotaurs are fucking relentless, while a fallen captain is essentially a chicken shit who runs away. Boss fights are basically bullet sponges. But somehow after all this, they managed to turn around and give us the awesomeness inside of the Vault of Glass, a puzzle for 2 straight bosses. But overall, the enemy AI is good enough. It can use some minor tweaks, but it's good enough. The backgrounds and the skyboxes of this game are amazing. They came through on that. However, as many people will point out, you can't play in the backgrounds. You can only play in the restricted area maps, but it shows Bungie has room to grow when it comes to the environment. And when they actually add more playable environment, it will probably look just as stunning. The sound quality of the game is on point, from the directional noises to the ambient noises to the various campaign music. The shit is top notch. So Destiny delivers some key pieces that makes up the basic parts of this game. There are minor cracks in the foundation that need some touch-up work. The Crucible tops that list. Yes, it's unbalanced, and the reality is it will always be unbalanced, but more can be done to narrow the gap, and I have some ideas that I'm going to touch up a little bit later. We're going to spackle some of that motherfucker shut. The open world that we were promised isn't quite so open as we were initially led to believe. Part of that is by design. Part of that is there just isn't enough shit that requires more than 5 to 6 people in a given area at any given time. We have public events and loot hunting and enemies that pop up or battles that randomly break out and shit like that. So there's structure there. It just needs a kick in the dick or something to get this motherfucker going. Other minor cracks in the foundation that I'm going to be covering will be the loot system, which has improved but still needs a touch more help. The amount of content that we have, the change in content we need, as well as the ranking up system, which is dependent upon the randomness of the game, is also going to be ideas that I need to touch on. But the 2 biggest cracks running right across the entire portion of this game are undeniably the missing story and purpose of the campaign and the utterly repetitive and monotonous missions this game offered. And these 2 problems are the crux of what's wrong with Destiny. They're single-handedly hurting this game more than anything else right now. And if you don't believe me, ask yourself this question. If Destiny gave you an incredible story with a fantastic plot that explained all the lore the game had, while keeping some of the mysteries open for some future installments, would you care that these open worlds are somewhat empty? I mean, if the missions weren't actually just scanning something and shooting enemies along the way, would you give a fuck that Dinklebot and the rest of the voice acting was stale as shit? I bet any amount of money that if this game gave us a top-notch story, more variety in the missions, and more shit like the Vault of Glass, I wouldn't be making this damn series right now. I can guarantee that if Bungie delivered on those 2 items, we will be talking about an excellent game as opposed to a repetitive, unfinished product. Games these days get away with not having a perfect game. Not every game is going to be The Last of Us with a fantastic story that allows you to look over the small problems that game had. You know, like the minimal difference in the enemies we faced. Not every game is going to be like Grand Theft Auto that had an amazing campaign that essentially sold 35 million copies but had a shitty online portion that Rockstar couldn't deliver on. Nobody in their right mind would say that Grand Theft Auto was a shitty game. They would just say, stick to the campaign because that was worth all the money. Destiny, on the other hand, isn't worth it. Not even remotely close to being worth the hype and the grandeur that this game promised. Gamers would have been able to look past some of the smaller items like the open empty worlds and the shitty loot system had the game not had these major 2 cracks in their foundation. And that's what this series is going to do. Fix all the cracks in the foundation. Large cracks, small cracks, and all the other shit in between that needs to be fixed. Now, as we know, the chances of Bungie listening to this are slim to none. I know that, you know that, we all fucking know that. We know they're working on whatever the fuck it is with this next DLC shit that's basically a new patch that we're gonna get in this fucking game and pay for. And the shit is not going to change. But I bet you, 1 year from now, if everyone were to come back to this video and this series and compare that to the changes that Bungie's gonna end up making, I can probably guarantee you that the shit that I come up with will be better than the shit that they actually do in the game. It happened with Call of Duty, and it's gonna happen with Destiny. I'm sure there's a team of developers or a highly trained team of monkeys. They're all sitting around a conference room, throwing out ideas that sound fine at the time, but then they put them into motion, and it fucks shit up. Happens with every game. Destiny is no different, because that's how games are made. But I'll guarantee you that all the changes that I mentioned, all the fixes that Bungie can potentially do, they will ignore, do their own fucking thing, ignore what the gamers have been asking for, and give people a still unfinished, unpolished product that has absolutely no explanation to the lore and story that they wanted in this game in the first place. Anyways, video number 1 is down because this was mainly an intro to the series and I wasn't going to make a 45-minute video. Look, I wasn't going to fix everything in just one fucking video now, but right off the bat, I'm jumping into the biggest problems of the game in the very next video. the story, or the lack of a fucking story, and how Destiny can still fix this shit. I have no clue how many videos it's gonna take to fix this damn game, probably 10, 12, 15 or some shit like that, but at this point, I really don't give a fuck. I like playing Destiny, but I would like playing this shit a lot more if they get their shit together and they give people the content that we were promised ever since they first started hyping up this game. And if you don't believe me about the content that was promised to us, go take a look at their very second video that they ever released regarding character development. You know what you're gonna find in that video? 12 seconds into the video, you're gonna find Omnigul, the same DLC boss we're about to pay $20 for in the Will of Crota Strike mission. Can you believe that? 20 fucking months ago, they released a character that they're gonna sell to you as DLC. That just goes to show you all the fucking things that are wrong with this game. But anyways, as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit. And I'll see you guys in the next video that tackles the lack of story up in this motherfucker.